The box shook in Tyler's arms, and so did he. "Please," he whispered, tears cutting clean lines down his dirty cheeks. "Please don't say no." Dr. Merrick Voss didn't answer right away. He stood in his blue scrubs under the fluorescent lights, staring down at the shivering bundle of fur curled inside a beat-up cardboard box lined with a stained towel. The dog's ribs showed through matted black and tan fur. One back leg sat at a wrong angle. "Son," the vet said slowly, snapping off his exam gloves, "I already explained this to your mother. This isn't a charity clinic." Behind Tyler, his mother, Renee, pressed her lips together, the way she always did when she was trying not to cry in front of him. Nobody in that room knew the boy had walked 4 miles to get here. Nobody knew what he'd given up to save this dog. And nobody, not even Tyler, knew that this exact moment would change everything for a man who had once made a promise he thought he'd never have to keep. 3 hours earlier, Tyler had been walking home from school when he heard something whimpering behind the dumpsters on Route 9. He almost kept walking. Almost. But something made him stop. That something was small, starving, and alone, just like he sometimes felt. He wrapped the dog in his own hoodie and carried it the whole way home, ignoring the cold biting through his t-shirt. His mother took one look at the animal's leg and made a call to the only vet clinic still open that evening. If you believe an animal's life is worth saving, even when nobody's paying attention, hit that like button right now, hit subscribe, and share this with someone who still believes kindness matters. Because what happens next in this story is going to test exactly that. Back in the exam room, Dr. Voss crossed his arms. "I'm sorry," he said, not unkindly, but firm. "That leg needs surgery. Pins, anesthesia, follow-up care. We're talking $800 minimum. I run a business, not a shelter." Renee stepped forward. "I don't have that. I don't have any of that. But he's a good dog, doctor. He hasn't stopped shaking since we found him." "I understand," Voss said, and for a second, something flickered behind his glasses. Then it was gone. "There's an animal control officer 2 towns over. They'll put him down," Tyler said. His voice cracked. "That's what happens. I know it is." The clinic went quiet except for the low hum of the ceiling lights and the dog's ragged breathing. Voss turned away, pretending to check something on his clipboard. But his hand had stopped moving. Because for one unbearable second, he wasn't standing in his own clinic anymore. He was 17 again, kneeling in a barn in Ohio, holding a dying farm dog named Scout while his father told him there was no money for the vet. He remembered the sound Scout made. He remembered promising himself, right there in the hay and the dark, that if he ever had the power to help an animal like that, he would. He'd built an entire career on that promise. Somewhere along the way, bills and rent and 30 years of hard cases had buried it. "Doctor?" Renee asked softly. Voss cleared his throat and turned back around. "I need a minute," he said, and walked into the back room. Tyler's arms were going numb from holding the box so tightly, but he didn't dare loosen his grip. He looked down at the dog, whose amber eyes were fixed on his face like he was the only steady thing left in the world. "I'm not letting them take you," Tyler whispered. "Promise." That word, promise, seemed to hang in the air of the empty room. In the back, Voss stood over the sink, gripping the edges of it, staring at nothing. On the shelf above him sat a framed photo he kept where only he could see it. A boy, maybe 10 years old, grinning next to a scruffy brown dog. It was the only photo of his childhood he still owned. He thought about the $800. He thought about the mortgage on the clinic, the 2 employees he could barely afford to keep on payroll, the stack of unpaid invoices from families just like this one. Then he thought about the boy's face, the tears, the way he hadn't once said "my dog," only him, like the animal's life mattered on its own, with nothing to prove. Voss made a decision that would cost him more than money. He walked back into the exam room, took a breath, and said the words that would rewrite the rest of that night. "Put him on the table," Voss said. "We're doing the surgery. Tonight." Renee's hand flew to her mouth. Tyler froze, certain he'd misheard. "But you said—" "I said a lot of things," Voss cut in, already rolling up his sleeves. "I'm allowed to be wrong." What happened over the next 2 hours would be the part Tyler remembered most vividly for the rest of his life. Not the surgery itself, but the sight of a grown man who barely knew them working past closing time, past dinner, past exhaustion, muttering softly to a shaking dog the entire time like he was talking to an old friend. When it was over, Voss peeled off his gloves and managed a tired smile. He's going to walk again. Might have a limp, but he's going to walk. Tyler didn't say anything. He just cried harder, this time from something other than fear. Weeks passed. The dog, Tyler named him Scout, though he never knew why that name felt right the moment he said it out loud, healed fast the way young dogs do. Voss never sent a bill. Instead, every few weekends, Tyler and his mother started showing up at the clinic. Not as customers, but to help. Tyler swept floors. Renee organized files. Somewhere in the sweeping and filing and quiet conversations, something like family started forming in that little tiled office. One afternoon, months later, Voss found Tyler staring at the old photo on his shelf. The boy and the brown dog. "Who's that?" Tyler asked. Voss looked at it for a long moment. "That's someone who made a promise a long time ago," he said. "Took him a while to keep it." Tyler looked down at Scout, curled peacefully by his feet, leg fully healed, tail thumping against the tile floor. "I think you kept it just in time," he said. Voss didn't answer. He didn't need to. Some promises take years to find their moment. But when they do, they don't just save a life. They quietly rebuild a broken part of the person who finally kept their word. If this story moved you, subscribe for more true-to-life tales of compassion, second chances, and the quiet moments that change everything.